Introduction. Within your skull at this very moment resides the most complex and powerful structure in the known universe. You have at your disposal a biological supercomputer with 86 billion neurons, capable of learning a language, composing a symphony, solving quantum problems, and experiencing the depth of love. It is a machine capable of transforming adversity into resilience and ideas into empires. And yet this amazing piece of technology came with a monumental factory defect. It didn't come with a user manual. And so, we spend most of our lives operating it by default, often clumsily and inefficiently. We fight mental fog, lack of motivation, paralyzing stress and anxiety, believing they are flaws in our character or discipline. We don't realize that we are just using the wrong fuel and running outdated software on the most advanced hardware on the planet. But in the last decade, a silent revolution has taken place in laboratories around the world. Thanks to advances in neuroscience, for the first time in history, we have begun to decipher that lost manual. We have discovered that our brain is not a fixed structure that we are stuck with. It is a dynamic, adaptable, and above all, hackable system. And we have learned that there are precise biological levers we can deliberately pull to change our brain chemistry and therefore our experience of reality. This is Neuro-Mastery. This audiobook is not a collection of abstract theories. It is a field guide, a practical, science-based user manual that will teach you to stop being a victim of your mood and become the CEO of your own biology. You will learn to regulate your dopamine for unbreakable motivation, manage your cortisol to dissolve stress, and optimize your sleep, nutrition, and focus to achieve absolute mental clarity. The most powerful machine in the universe awaits your instructions. It's time to learn how to give them. Chapter 1. The Chemistry of Your Reality. You've decided to open the user manual for the most powerful machine in the universe. The first step isn't to learn a complex technique, but to meet the members of your inner cabinet, the invisible architects who are, at this very moment, designing the entirety of your experience. Your reality is not determined by external circumstances. It is determined by the chemistry flowing through your brain. Your moods, your motivation, your ability to focus, all are the result of an incredibly complex electrochemical cocktail. These chemicals are the messengers of your nervous system. They are the words your brain speaks to itself. To hack your brain, you must first learn its language. Imagine your mind is a kingdom and you are the monarch. Your royal council has 4 main advisors. The first advisor, dopamine, the motivation molecule. Dopamine is often called the pleasure molecule, but that's not quite accurate. Dopamine isn't the pleasure of the reward. It's the anticipation of the reward. It's the engine of seeking. It is the voice that whispers, "Go, keep going. What you're looking for is right there." When you feel a surge of energy and focus on a project, that's dopamine at its best. In its healthy form, dopamine is the source of all human progress. But this powerful advisor has a dark side. It's designed for seeking, not satisfaction. In our modern world, it has been hijacked. Dopamine doesn't distinguish between a long-term goal and an instant, artificial reward, like a social media notification. Our environment is saturated with cheap dopamine, endless scrolling, junk food, online shopping. These are quick reward loops designed to keep you hooked. Each time you give in, your brain gets a small dopamine hit, but the bar is raised. Long-term goals, with their distant rewards, start to seem boring and unreachable. This is the path to procrastination and addiction. The second advisor, serotonin, the well-being molecule. If dopamine is the wanting more molecule, serotonin is the having enough molecule. It is your inner sage, your advisor of peace. Serotonin doesn't drive you to seek. It allows you to enjoy what you already have. It is responsible for the feeling of calm, satisfaction, and general well-being. It is the deep peace you feel after a delicious meal. It's the serene confidence you feel when you know you've done a good job. A healthy level of serotonin gives us a foundation of emotional stability. The dark side of serotonin is its absence. When its levels are low due to stress or poor diet, the advisor of peace goes silent. And in its absence, the voices of anxiety, depression, and irritability take over. We become unable to feel satisfied, constantly worried about the future. The third advisor, a duo. Adrenaline and cortisol, the stress molecules. This is your crisis management team. Adrenaline is the sprinter, the first alarm. Cortisol is the marathon runner, maintaining a long-term alert state. Their original function is a masterpiece of evolution, to save your life from an immediate physical threat. In short bursts, this system is a superpower. It is the energy you feel to meet an impossible deadline. The dark side, the great disease of modern civilization, is that our alarm system is permanently on. The tiger is no longer a physical predator, but an email avalanche, traffic, or alarming news. Our brain doesn't distinguish the threat, and it responds by chronically releasing cortisol. Living with high cortisol levels is devastating. It suppresses your immune system, increases inflammation, impairs sleep, causes mental fog, and damages brain cells. The crisis advisor has become a tyrant, the symphony of your chemistry, dopamine, serotonin, cortisol. These advisors don't work in isolation. They form an orchestra, and the music they play is the symphony of your state of being. For many, the orchestra is out of tune. They play a symphony of stress and distraction. High cortisol suppresses serotonin, leaving us anxious. To escape that feeling, we seek quick hits of cheap dopamine, social media, which leaves us even more unmotivated for long-term goals. It's a vicious cycle. Neuro-Mastery is the art of becoming the conductor of this orchestra. It's learning to use conscious tools to direct your musicians. It's learning to turn down the volume of the cortisol drums, tune the serotonin violins, and direct the dopamine trumpet toward the goals that truly matter. Practice your first chemical analysis. Exercise 1, the Neurotransmitter Journal. For the next 3 days, become a detective of your own neurochemistry. Set an alarm for 3 times a day. When it rings, pause and answer. Which advisor is in control? Dopamine, serotonin, or cortisol? What was the trigger? What situation, thought, or activity preceded this state? This journal will give you a clear map of the patterns governing your brain chemistry. Exercise 2. Identify your dopamine hackers. Consciousness is the first step to control. Make an honest list of your 3 to 5 main cheap dopamine activities. What do you turn to automatically when you feel bored or stressed? Is it checking social media, eating a sugary snack, or watching short videos? You don't have to eliminate them yet. Just write them down. Recognizing the thieves of your motivation is the first step to taking back your power. You are not a victim of your mood. You are the result of your brain chemistry. And the good news is, you are not your chemistry. You are the chemist. You have the power to influence the ingredients and change the formula of your experience. We've met the messengers that create our reality moment by moment. But is it possible to create lasting change? Can we change the very structure of the brain that produces this chemistry? The answer is a resounding yes. And the mechanism for that is the miracle of neuroplasticity. Chapter 2. The brain that rewires itself. The miracle of neuroplasticity. For over a century, the central dogma of neuroscience was deeply pessimistic. It was believed that the brain was like a complex machine. It developed in childhood and adolescence, and then, at some point in early adulthood, the wiring became fixed and permanent. The connection solidified. It was believed that we could only lose neurons, never gain new ones. The cards you were dealt in the genetic lottery and in your early childhood were the only ones you could play with for the rest of your life. This belief created a culture of biological determinism and resignation. If you were bad at math, or had an anxious personality, it was just how your brain was wired. It was a life sentence. But in the second half of the 20th century, a silent revolution began. Scientists started seeing things that dogma said were impossible. They saw adult brains reorganizing after injury, with entire areas taking on new functions. They saw how training not only improved a skill but physically changed the brain's structure. This revolution culminated in the discovery of the most hopeful principle in all of human biology, the miracle of neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is the brain's ability to reorganize itself, to form new neural connections, and rewire its circuits throughout life. Your brain isn't a marble sculpture carved once and for all. It is a river of clay, a dynamic, living network constantly being molded by every thought and action you take. You are the sculptor, and the clay is the very matter of your consciousness. To become a master sculptor, a neurohacker, you don't need to understand every detail of neurobiology. You only need to understand the two fundamental laws that govern this process. They are two simple principles that will give you the power to deliberately rebuild your own mind. The first law of the plastic brain: use it or lose it. Imagine the connections between your neurons are like paths in a dense jungle. Each time you have a thought, it's like a path being walked. If you use the same path over and over, for example, the path of the thought, "I'm not good enough," it becomes a superhighway. But what happens to the paths you stop using? If you stop walking an old path, the jungle reclaims it. The weeds grow and the path disappears. This principle is known as synaptic pruning. Your brain is incredibly efficient. It doesn't waste energy maintaining connections that aren't used. Connections that are not regularly activated are pruned. This law has a terrifying implication. It explains why negative habits are so hard to break. They are neural superhighways. Your brain, out of sheer efficiency, will guide you down that paved road again and again, unless you make a conscious decision to stop using it. The liberating promise is that you have the power to let your most destructive patterns wither and die. The second law of the plastic brain: neurons that fire together, wire together. This is the other side of the coin. It's the principle of construction. This law, first formulated by Donald Hebb, is the basis of all learning and habit formation. The law states that every time a group of neurons activates at the same time, the connections between them become stronger, faster, and more efficient. The insulation covering them, called myelin, thickens. The neurons become a new circuit. This is where the first power, attention, becomes crucial. Focused and deliberate attention is the signal that tells your brain, "This is important. Pay attention. Build a superhighway here." That's why 1 hour of deliberate practice on a skill is infinitely more valuable than 10 hours of distracted practice. Practice doesn't make you perfect. Focused practice makes you perfect. These two laws are happening in your brain right now. You are, whether you know it or not, a neurological sculptor. The question is, are you sculpting your masterpiece, or are you sculpting your own prison? The dark side of neuroplasticity: how we build our own prison. Neuroplasticity is a neutral law. It doesn't care if you're building the habit of meditation or procrastination. It will apply its laws with the same impartiality. And the tragedy is that most of us, unconsciously, use this miraculous power against ourselves. Think of chronic worry. Worry is not a passive state. It is the repeated practice of visualizing negative scenarios. Each time you worry, you are forcing the anxiety neuron team to practice together. You are becoming an expert, an Olympic athlete, at feeling anxious. You have built an efficient neural superhighway that your brain can travel down in seconds, automatically and effortlessly. Think of addiction to digital distractions. Each time you feel the slightest boredom and respond by picking up your phone, you are reinforcing a neural loop. Signal, boredom, routine, picking up the phone, reward, a small hit of dopamine. Repeat this hundreds of times a day, and you will have built a pathway so powerful that the simple idea of being in silence without a stimulus becomes physically painful. You have trained your brain to be unable to maintain attention. Think of pessimism. Each time you tell yourself, "I'm a failure," after a small mistake, you are reinforcing the circuit of powerlessness. Over time, your brain becomes structurally biased to see evidence of your failures and filter out evidence of your successes. Your reality literally becomes a reflection of the physical structure you have built in your mind. Realizing this can be overwhelming, but it is also the moment of your maximum liberation. Because if it has been you, with your repeated thoughts and actions, who was the unconscious architect of your own prison, then it means, without a doubt, that you can be the conscious architect of your own freedom. You just need to start using the same laws to your advantage. Practice the engineer of your own brain. These exercises are designed to take you from an unconscious sculptor to a deliberate neurological engineer. Exercise 1. Mapping your neural superhighways. The first step is to identify the circuits you want to dismantle and the ones you want to build. Step A, the negative superhighway. Take your journal. Identify a negative superhighway in your mind, a deeply ingrained pattern of thought that causes you suffering, like worry about money or self-criticism. Describe it. Step B, the archaeology. Ask yourself, when did I start building this path? What traffic, thoughts, situations reinforces it every day? Be a detective of your own patterns. Step C, the new superhighway. Now define with absolute clarity the new path you want to build. What is the opposite, empowering pattern? For example, if the old superhighway is worry about the future, the new one is trust in the process. This is the blueprint for your new engineering work. Exercise 2. Deliberate and focused practice. Now that you have the blueprint, you must start building. Choose one skill or new thought pattern you want to install. Commit to dedicating a block of intense, distraction-free concentration to this one thing every day. It could be just 15 minutes, but during those 15 minutes, your attention must be absolute. Zero phone. Zero multitasking. This focused attention is the most powerful signal you can send to your brain. You are telling it with thunderous clarity. This is important. Build a superhighway here now. Exercise 3, the ritual of novelty. A brain that becomes rigid and anchored in old routines is a less plastic brain. Novelty is the fertilizer of neuroplasticity. Your practice for the next week is to introduce a small act of novelty into your life each day. Take a different route to work. Brush your teeth with your non-dominant hand. Listen to a genre of music you normally hate. These small acts of breaking the pattern force your brain out of autopilot and create new connections. They keep the clay of your mind soft and malleable, ready to be sculpted. You are not condemned by your genetics or sentenced by your past habits. You are the perpetual engineer of the most miraculous structure in the universe. Every thought you choose, every action you repeat, is an act of neurological construction. You are, in the most literal sense of the word, sculpting the brain you will have tomorrow. Chapter 3. The primitive brain versus the master brain. The battle for control. To sculpt a masterpiece, you must first understand the nature of the stone. And the stone you work with is not a uniform block. It is a geological conglomerate, a fusion of layers formed over eons of evolution. Within your skull, at this very moment, there reside not one but at least two minds, two creatures with radically different agendas, languages, and motivations. The great saga of human experience, the source of all your self-sabotage and all your triumphs, is the silent battle these two forces wage, day by day, for control of your life's throne. Meet the two rulers. The first creature is ancestral, powerful, and reactive. It is your primitive brain. This system, including structures like the limbic system, is hundreds of millions of years old. It is a survivor. Its sole mission is to keep you alive, here and now. Its list of priorities is brutally simple. Can I eat it? Can I mate with it? Is it going to kill me? This is your anxious guardian, your prehistoric sentry. It is incredibly fast. It processes information in milliseconds and operates automatically, below the radar of your consciousness. It is the seat of your rawest emotions, your deepest habits, and the fight, flight, or freeze response. The second creature is a newcomer. It is your master brain located primarily in your prefrontal cortex. This is the part of your brain that makes you uniquely human. It is the wise CEO, the visionary architect. Its mission is not immediate survival, but long-term planning. It is the seat of abstract thought, empathy, and self-control. Unlike the primitive brain, the master brain is slow, deliberate, and consumes an immense amount of energy. It doesn't react, it responds. It is the voice of reason that reminds you of your higher goals. And the central conflict of your life is this. Your primitive brain, the fearful guardian, often has control by default, and your master brain, the visionary CEO, must fight every day to seize the helm. To build an unbreakable mind, you must understand the tactics of your inner guardian and learn the counter-strategies to strengthen your CEO. The primitive brain's playbook. Your primitive brain is a brilliant strategist in its field, survival. And it uses three main tactics to keep you safe, i.e., in your comfort zone. Tactic 1, the amygdala hijack. The amygdala is your smoke detector, scanning for threats. When it perceives one, and here's the key, it doesn't distinguish between a saber-toothed tiger and a critical email. It pulls the fire alarm. In that instant, a neural hijack occurs. The amygdala floods your system with cortisol and adrenaline, which literally disconnect the more evolved parts of your brain. Your wise CEO is removed from the command center. You are left under the total control of the primitive brain, which only has 3 responses: fight, flight, or freeze. This system was a masterpiece for survival on the savannah. But in the modern world, where threats are mostly psychological, this constant hijacking keeps us in a state of chronic stress and makes us make terrible decisions. Tactic 2, the path of least resistance. The primitive brain is obsessed with one thing: conserving energy. Its golden rule is to always choose the easiest, most familiar, least energy-consuming path. This explains procrastination. When faced with a complex task, your primitive brain sees a threat. To protect you, it releases a subtle feeling of unease and presents an easy alternative: check social media. It also explains the power of bad habits. A bad habit is simply a well-paved neural superhighway. Your primitive brain will always prefer to drive on a comfortable superhighway than to machete its way through the jungle of a new behavior. Tactic 3, the siren song of instant gratification. The primitive brain is blind to the future. It only understands the now. It is programmed to prioritize a small immediate reward over a much greater reward in the future. Our modern world is a buffet of cheap dopamine. Processed food, social media, are supernormal stimuli. When your master brain proposes the long-term plan of write 1 page of your book a day, your primitive brain laughs. It presents an irresistible counteroffer. Or you can watch this 30-second video and get a guaranteed dose of pleasure right now. In this battle, without a conscious strategy, the present almost always beats the future. The master brain's counter-strategies. Knowing this, are we condemned to be puppets of our primitive biology? No. Because our master brain, our CEO, has its own strategies. Its power lies not in speed, but in consciousness. Strategy 1. Name the guardian to tame it. Science has shown that simply labeling an emotion reduces its power. When you feel the wave of panic, if you can pause and say, this is fear, something miraculous happens. Neuronal activity shifts from the reactive amygdala to your observant prefrontal cortex. By naming the emotion, you disidentify from it. You stop being the fear and become the consciousness observing the fear. Strategy 2. The 10-second pause. The primitive brain is fast. The master brain is slow. To win, the CEO needs time to reach the command center. The pause is your secret weapon. When you face a stimulus that would normally cause an impulsive reaction, commit to an unbreakable rule. Wait 10 seconds before reacting. In those 10 seconds, take a deep breath. This simple act of waiting is often enough for the initial wave of adrenaline to subside and for your prefrontal cortex to regain control. Strategy 3. The architect's pre-commitment. Your master brain is stronger when you are calm. Your primitive brain is stronger when you are tired. The strategy is for your wise, calm self to make decisions that tie the hands of your future, impulsive self. This means designing your environment. Not buying junk food is a pre-commitment. You are using your CEO to redesign the battlefield. Strategy 4. Visualize the future to energize the CEO. The primitive brain doesn't understand the future, but it does understand images and emotions. To win the battle against instant gratification, you must make the future reward feel more real and emotionally appealing than the present pleasure. This is achieved through visualization. Dedicate a minute to vividly imagining the feeling of pride and satisfaction you will feel after going to the gym. By loading the future goal with a present emotion, you give your CEO the fuel it needs to defeat the siren song of impulse. Practice training the inner CEO. Exercise 1. The hijack log. Consciousness is the beginning of change. For the next week, your task is to become an observer of your own amygdala hijacks. At the end of each day, write down any moment where you reacted impulsively. For each event, answer, what was the trigger? How did it feel in my body? What could I have done differently? This log will reveal the patterns of your primitive brain. Exercise 2. The Name It to Tame It drill. Practice this technique in low-stakes situations. The next time you feel a mild negative emotion, irritation in traffic, boredom in a line, pause. Name the emotion. Ah, here is impatience. Hello, irritation. Observe how the simple act of naming it without judgment creates space. The emotion stops being you and becomes something you are experiencing. Exercise 3. The Future Self-Visualization. This exercise makes your long-term goals emotionally irresistible. Dedicate 5 minutes each morning to a visualization. Not of the things you will have, but of the person you will become if you consistently follow your master brain's path. Feel the posture, the calm, the confidence of that future self. By connecting emotionally with your future self every day, you make the reward of discipline feel immediate and powerful, giving your CEO the fuel it needs to win the day's battles. The battle for an extraordinary life is fought every instant in the space behind your forehead. It is the struggle between the ancient, fearful guardian who wants to keep you safe in the past, and the wise, visionary architect who wants to build your grandest future. You can't kill the guardian, but you can stop giving it the keys to the kingdom. You can, through conscious practice, strengthen your inner CEO until its serene voice becomes more influential than the shouts of fear. Chapter 4. The Cheap Dopamine Trap. Hijacking Your Motivation. In this story's heart lies our old acquaintance, your inner cabinet's first advisor, dopamine. Dopamine is the molecule of anticipation and seeking. It's the engine that drives you to act, the whisper that says the reward is near. It is the force that drove our ancestors out of the cave to hunt. In its natural state, dopamine is the energy of progress, the fuel of ambition. The dopamine system works through a simple but powerful loop. First, a trigger. You see an opportunity. Second, dopamine is released, creating the feeling of motivation. Third, this motivation drives you to action. Fourth, upon getting the reward, you experience pleasure and the loop is reinforced. But a crucial aspect is that dopamine operates relative to a baseline. Your dopamine level is like water in a pond. Your normal state is the baseline. When you seek a reward, it's a surge, a dopamine spike. You feel excitement. After each peak, the water level inevitably drops below baseline for a time. This is the subtle low you feel after a great achievement. In a natural world, this system worked perfectly. Dopamine spikes were rare and required effort. This kept our baseline healthy and our motivation high for real challenges. But we have built a world that is a trap for this system, saturated with what we'll call cheap dopamine. Cheap dopamine is any stimulus that provides a high dopamine spike, quickly and with minimal effort. It is a hack of our reward system. This unlimited access is creating a silent catastrophe in our motivation and focus. To win this war, we must know the 3 great hackers of our time. The first hacker, the infinite attention machine, social media. Your smartphone is a dopamine machine. Its main weapon is the deliberate exploitation of your dopamine loop. Infinite scroll. Platforms like Instagram and TikTok have no end. The infinite scroll is a neurological evil genius. Each swipe makes your primitive brain wonder, what comes next? That anticipation of a novel reward is a constant dopamine drip that keeps you hooked. Variable reward. A slot machine is addictive because you never know when it will pay out. Your phone notifications work the same way. This uncertainty is irresistible to your dopamine system. It forces you to check your phone repeatedly. Social validation. A like is a digital signal of tribal approval. It's a powerful social reward that releases a burst of dopamine. We have outsourced our self-esteem, making it dependent on these small validation hits. The second hacker, hyperpalatable food. The modern food industry has cracked the code of our primitive brain. They have created products that are supernormal stimuli, exaggerated versions of the foods our evolution programmed us to desire. The combination of sugar, fat, and salt creates a dopamine explosion that overrides our natural signals of satiety. This constant overstimulation desensitizes our brain. The natural sweetness of an apple seems bland compared to a soda. The long-term satisfaction of an achievement starts to seem boring compared to the immediate pleasure of junk food. The third hacker, instant escape. Our world offers an arsenal of high dopamine escapes. Online pornography, video games, online shopping, the 24-hour news cycle. They all offer an escape from the discomfort of real life and an instant reward at zero cost of effort. The consequences of a hyperstimulated mind. Living in this constant state of cheap dopamine spikes has devastating consequences for our ability to build an unbreakable mind. Chronic procrastination. When your brain is accustomed to receiving big rewards for minimal effort, tasks that require sustained effort for a distant reward become neurologically expensive. Your primitive brain asks, "Why should I spend all this energy when I can get a guaranteed reward now by watching a video?" Anhedonia. As your dopamine receptors desensitize, your baseline for well-being drops. You need increasingly intense stimuli to feel anything. Life's simple joys stop producing pleasure. You feel apathetic and disconnected. Anxiety and depression. The constant valleys that follow dopamine spikes feel biochemically very similar to anxiety and depression. You find yourself in a state of constant craving, always seeking the next hit to feel normal again. Practice the dopamine release protocol. Reclaiming your sovereignty isn't about living like a monk, but about becoming a conscious consumer of dopamine. Exercise 1. The dopamine fast. To resensitize your brain, you need to give it a break. Choose your level. Start with a full-day fast or just the first 4 hours of a Sunday. The process. Expect to feel bored and restless. Don't fight it. This is a sign your brain is healing. Write in a journal about how you feel. Take a walk. Observe the rebirth. At the end of your fast, notice how the world seems different. You've reset your system. Exercise 2. The architecture of effort, environment design. Make your environment work for your master brain, not your primitive brain. Increase friction for bad habits. Put your phone in another room while you work. Use website blocking apps. Delete food delivery apps. Reduce friction for good habits. Leave a book on your pillow. Have your workout clothes ready the night before. Keep healthy snacks visible and within reach. Exercise 3. The smart reward. You can't eliminate dopamine, but you can choose where you get it. Start associating dopamine with effort, not with passivity. Reward yourself for the effort, not the outcome. After a focused work session, reward yourself with something that reinforces calm and achievement, like a quality tea or a short walk. An advanced trick. Learn to get dopamine from the friction itself. Learn to fall in love with the feeling of effort. Say to yourself, "This is difficult and that means I'm growing." You're rewiring your brain to associate effort with reward, which is the ultimate secret of self-motivation. You are not a victim of your brain chemistry. You are the chemist. You have the power to decide what ingredients you put in your mind's crucible. By freeing yourself from the tyranny of cheap dopamine, you not only reclaim your motivation and focus, you reclaim your ability to enjoy life in its simplest and most profound form. You reclaim your sovereignty. Chapter 5. The cortisol flood, the biology of chronic stress. Now we must face the second great hacker of our biology, a force that not only sabotages your motivation, but floods your inner kingdom with the chemistry of fear, clouds your judgment, and literally damages the structure of your brain. Let's meet the most dramatic and powerful advisor in your inner cabinet, the fire alarm guardian, the stress molecule, cortisol. To understand cortisol, we must first honor it. It is not your enemy. It is, in fact, one of your oldest and most loyal guardians. It is a masterpiece of evolution, designed with a single sacred purpose: to save your life. Imagine your ancestor, 50,000 years ago, facing a saber-toothed tiger. In a fraction of a second, their primitive brain, their amygdala, pulls the fire alarm. A biochemical cascade of amazing speed and precision occurs. First, adrenaline floods their system. Their heart races, pumping blood to their muscles. Their pupils dilate. Their breathing quickens for explosive action. Seconds later, to sustain this state of maximum alert, their adrenal glands release cortisol. This hormone is the quartermaster of the survival army. Its job is to mobilize all the body's resources for war. It releases glucose, increases blood pressure, and, most importantly, makes a brutal executive decision: It shuts down all functions not essential for immediate survival, like digestion or immunity. In short, sharp bursts, this stress response is a superpower. It's what allows your ancestor to fight with superhuman strength. It's what allows you to react with incredible speed to avoid a car accident. The problem, the great tragedy of modern life, is that our alarm system, designed to go off once a month for a tiger, is now going off 100 times a day. And the reason is that our primitive brain has not learned to differentiate between the threat of a physical predator and the threat of a notification on your phone. For your amygdala, a critical email, a traffic jam, an argument, or alarming news on TV are all, on a biochemical level, saber-toothed tigers. In response to each of these paper tigers, your body, with perfect fidelity, activates the same stress cascade, not in a sharp, life-saving burst, but in a constant, chronic, and poisonous drip. You have gone from an occasional fire alarm to living with the deafening sound of a siren that never goes off. And this constant cortisol flood is the silent plague of our civilization. It doesn't just make you feel bad, it is literally damaging your brain and body. The brain under siege: how chronic stress steals your mind. When cortisol flows chronically, your brain goes from a garden of growth to a fortress under siege. Resources are no longer dedicated to building new connections, but to defending against a perceived threat. And three key areas suffer direct structural damage. 1. The burning of the library, the hippocampus. The hippocampus is your center for learning and memory. It is where new neurons are formed. The hippocampus is extremely sensitive to cortisol. Under chronic exposure, cortisol becomes neurotoxic. It literally overexcites cells until they die. Chronic stress not only stops the creation of new neurons, it begins to reduce the size of the hippocampus. You are, in the most literal sense, burning the books in your own library. The consequences are mental fog, difficulty concentrating, and a growing difficulty in learning new things. Long-term, this atrophy is correlated with a higher risk of depression and neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's. 2. The firing of the CEO, the prefrontal cortex. Your prefrontal cortex is your master brain. Chronic stress is like a coup d'etat in your mind. Cortisol weakens the synaptic connections in this region and actively diverts blood flow away from it. The result is that your inner CEO is in effect fired. Your ability for rational decision-making and self-control is drastically diminished. You become more impulsive and reactive, more prone to making short-term decisions that sabotage your long-term goals. You find yourself giving in to temptations more easily. The strengthening of the fear guardian, the amygdala. While cortisol weakens your hippocampus and prefrontal cortex, it does the exact opposite with your amygdala. Chronic stress not only increases the amygdala's activity, it literally makes it grow. You are, in essence, training the muscle of fear. Your smoke detector becomes hypersensitive. You start seeing potential threats everywhere. A neutral look from a colleague is interpreted as criticism. A silence in a conversation is interpreted as rejection. Your brain gets stuck in a negative feedback loop. Stress makes you more sensitive to threats, which makes you perceive more threats, which generates more stress. It's the perfect recipe for chronic anxiety. The body as a battlefield. This siege is not limited to your brain. Chronic cortisol ravages your body. It suppresses your immune system, leaving you vulnerable to illnesses. It causes insulin resistance and increases visceral fat storage. It raises your blood pressure. It disrupts your digestion, causing problems like irritable bowel syndrome. And it creates the paradoxical state of being wired and tired. Your mind is racing and you can't disconnect, but your body is deeply exhausted. Practice the stress deactivation protocol. The good news is that, thanks to neuroplasticity, this damage is not permanent. You can consciously learn to turn off the alarm. You can teach your nervous system to return to its natural state of calm. Exercise 1. The alarm-stopping breath, the physiological sigh. Your breath is the remote control for your nervous system. Inhaling is linked to alertness. Exhaling is linked to calm. By deliberately lengthening your exhalations, you are sending a direct signal to your brain that the tiger is gone and it is safe to relax. The protocol. In a moment of stress, inhale deeply through your nose. At the very end of the inhalation, take another small sip of air to inflate your lungs to the maximum. And then, exhale slowly through your mouth for as long as possible. Repeat this just 1 to 3 times. You will notice an almost instant change in your state. This is not a mental trick. It is a biological hack. Exercise 2, the nature prescription. Humans evolved in nature. Our nervous system is programmed to find it deeply calming. The Japanese concept of Shinrin-yoku, or forest bathing, has been scientifically shown to drastically reduce cortisol levels. The protocol. Commit to spending at least 20 minutes a day in a green space. Don't do anything. Simply walk slowly. Feel the air. Listen to the sounds of the birds. Leave your phone in your pocket. Allow nature's intelligence to recalibrate your nervous system. Exercise 3. Movement as medicine. Exercise is one of the most potent ways to metabolize excess cortisol. But the type of movement matters. For stress reduction, the ideal movement is rhythmic and moderate intensity. The protocol. Choose a form of movement you enjoy. Brisk walking, swimming, dancing, cycling. The key is that it is rhythmic and allows you to enter an almost meditative state. Commit to at least 30 minutes of this, 3 to 5 times a week. You are literally burning off the stress energy and releasing endorphins, your brain's natural feel-good chemicals. You don't have to be a victim of the cortisol flood. You cannot eliminate stress from your life, but you can radically change your response to it. You are the CEO of your biology, and you have the power to teach your inner guardian that not every email is a tiger. You have the power to turn off the siren and return to your kingdom the peace and calm that are your natural state. Chapter 6, Brain Fog, the Gut-Brain Connection. What if, despite your best efforts to manage your thoughts, you still have days when your mind feels slow, like you're trying to drive through a dense fog? If this sounds familiar, it's because we must look beyond the skull. We must turn our attention to an unexpected suspect, an organ we long considered a simple food processing tube, but which cutting-edge science is now revealing as our second brain. Your brain and gut are not separate systems. They are intimately connected in a constant two-way communication highway known as the gut-brain axis. The health of one directly affects the health of the other. The mental fog you feel in your head is often not a brain problem. It is the smoke from a fire happening in your gut. Your second brain, the inner garden. To understand this connection, we must first appreciate your digestive system's amazing intelligence. Within your intestinal walls resides the enteric nervous system, a neural network so complex it contains over 100 million neurons. This second brain feels, learns, remembers, and communicates. But the true intelligence of your gut lies in its inhabitants. Inside you right now lives a civilization of trillions of microorganisms, bacteria, viruses, fungi, known as the gut microbiota. The balance between beneficial and harmful bacteria determines not only your digestive health, but crucially, your mental health. Beneficial bacteria, when they thrive, are your allies. They produce essential vitamins and are tiny neurochemical factories. It's estimated that over 90% of your serotonin, the well-being molecule, is produced in your gut. Harmful bacteria, on the other hand, produce toxins, create inflammation, and send signals of discomfort to your brain. Communication between this inner garden and your main brain occurs via the vagus nerve. It's a huge cable of nerve fibers that directly connects the gut to the brain. And fascinatingly, about 80% of the information traffic on this highway travels in an upward direction, from the gut to the brain. Your second brain is constantly whispering to the first. The root of the fog, chronic inflammation. Here we get to the central mechanism that connects a sick gut to a foggy mind. The process begins with a phenomenon known as leaky gut. The walls of your healthy intestine are like a sieve designed to let only digested nutrients pass into your bloodstream. A poor diet, along with chronic stress, can damage this barrier. The junctions between intestinal cells loosen, and the sieve tears. Now, undigested food particles and harmful bacteria can leak from the gut directly into your bloodstream. Your immune system, upon detecting these invaders, panics and launches a massive inflammatory response. If the cause isn't fixed, this response never turns off. Your body enters a state of chronic low-grade inflammation, and this war doesn't stop at your neck. Inflammatory molecules called cytokines can cross the blood-brain barrier. Once inside, they cause neuroinflammation, an inflammation of the brain tissue itself. The mental fog you feel is not a metaphor. It is the literal sensation of an inflamed brain. Neuroinflammation disrupts communication between neurons, reduces energy production, and alters your neurotransmitter balance. It is the direct biological cause of difficulty concentrating, poor memory, mental fatigue, and is strongly implicated in anxiety and depression. Your mind cannot be clear if your brain is on fire, and the fire often starts in your gut. Practice clearing the mental fog. To regain mental clarity, you must become a conscious gardener of your inner ecosystem. The goal is simple: reduce inflammation, repair the gut barrier, and nourish the beneficial bacteria. Protocol 1. The gardener's diet. You are the gardener, and food is the fertilizer or poison you choose for your garden. Fertilize your allies. Your good bacteria feed on prebiotic fiber. The easiest way to get it is by eating the rainbow, a wide variety of colorful plants. Introduce new inhabitants. Add probiotic foods to your diet. These are fermented foods that contain live beneficial bacteria, like natural yogurt or sauerkraut. They are like bringing new expert gardeners to your ecosystem. Stop feeding the invaders. Harmful bacteria thrive on 3 things: processed sugar, industrial vegetable oils, and refined grains. To clear the fog, you must drastically reduce your consumption of these. Protocol 2. The stress-digestion connection. As we saw, the stress response, cortisol, actively shuts down your digestive system. Eating in a state of stress is a recipe for intestinal disaster. The parasympathetic eating practice. Before each meal, no matter how fast you're going, perform a 1-minute ritual. Sit down, turn off screens, take 5 deep, slow breaths, lengthening the exhale. This simple act activates your vagus nerve and shifts your nervous system from fight or flight to rest and digest. Eat slowly, chewing well. Protocol 3. The hydration protocol. Water is essential for maintaining the integrity of the intestinal lining and helping your body eliminate toxins. Often, mental fog is simply a sign of dehydration. The practice. Calculate your body weight in pounds, divide it by 2, and that is the approximate number of ounces of water you should drink daily. Start your day with a large glass of water, even before coffee. Your mind doesn't end at your neck. You are a holistic ecosystem. The clarity of your thoughts and the peace of your mind are, to a great extent, cultivated in the dark, silent garden of your gut. By becoming a guardian of your intestinal health, you are not just improving your digestion. You are polishing the lens through which you experience all of your reality. Chapter 7, Hack Number 1, The Power of Light and Darkness. Now we begin the section on protocols. And the first, most fundamental, and most powerful hack of all is not a pill or an app. It's a power as old as life itself on this planet. It is the power of light and darkness. You are not a machine that runs on coffee and willpower. You are a biological being, and every single one of your body's trillions of cells is tuned by millions of years of evolution to the most fundamental rhythm of the earth, the 24-hour cycle of day and night. This is your circadian rhythm. Imagine an amazingly precise master clock at the center of your brain. This clock is the conductor of your biology's orchestra. It governs when you should feel awake, when you should feel sleepy, when your hormones should be released, and when your DNA should be repaired. Mental health and clarity depend on this master clock being perfectly synchronized with the sun's cycle. The problem is we've built a modern world that is a desynchronization machine. We live our lives in caves of artificial light, uncoupled from nature's rhythm. We get too little light during the day and too much of the wrong kind of light at night. This is causing a silent epidemic of fatigue, anxiety, and mental fog. Neuro-Mastery begins with the simplest and most profound act of all: learning to synchronize your internal clock with the cosmos's clock. The power of morning light, your brain's ignition key. The most important event of your day, from a neurological perspective, occurs in the first 30 to 60 minutes after you wake up. In this window, you have the chance to send the most potent signal possible to your master clock. That signal is sunlight. The mechanism is elegant. When sunlight, especially the low-angle blue light of dawn, enters your eyes, it hits specialized cells in your retina. These cells are light detectors, connected directly to your master clock. When this signal arrives, your master clock does two things. First, it triggers your morning cortisol spike. In this context, cortisol is your friend. This programmed spike is your engine starter. It tells every cell, "Good morning, it's time to mobilize energy, be alert, and be focused." A person with a healthy morning cortisol spike feels awake. A person with a flattened one feels foggy. Second, exposure to morning light starts the timer for melatonin, the sleep hormone. Your brain, receiving the light signal in the morning, calculates that about 14 to 16 hours later, it should start releasing melatonin to prepare you for deep sleep. This means, paradoxically, that the key to sleeping well at night begins the moment you wake up. The Sun Salutation Protocol, 10 minutes to change your day. The protocol is simple, but its impact is monumental. The mission: within 60 minutes of waking, expose yourself to direct sunlight for 5 to 10 minutes. The rules: you must be outside. Looking through a window isn't enough, as glass filters out beneficial light. Don't wear sunglasses. You don't have to look directly at the sun. Just look in the general direction of the sky. Consistency is key. Do this every day to anchor your circadian rhythm. Contingencies: if you wake before sunrise, turn on artificial lights, but the moment the sun is up, go outside. The sanctity of darkness, turning off the world's noise. If morning light is the startup signal, darkness is the shutdown and repair signal. Our ancestors experienced near-total darkness after sunset. Our brains are programmed to interpret darkness as the signal to initiate melatonin production and begin cellular repair. But we have hacked the night. We live in perpetual twilight. Our lights, and above all our screens, emit a lot of blue light. The same retinal cells that detect morning blue light to wake up your brain also detect the blue light from your phone at 11 p.m. And upon detection, they panic. Alert! The sun is still out, it's not time to sleep, suppress melatonin. Looking at bright screens in the 2 to 3 hours before bed is the most effective sabotage you can commit against your sleep quality. You are literally telling your brain it's noon when it should be preparing for deep rest. The Digital Sunset Protocol, 90 minutes for perfect sleep. This protocol is designed to prepare your brain for rest and optimize sleep quality. The mission: about 90 minutes before your desired bedtime, begin your digital sunset. The rules: dim your home lights. Use lamps with warm bulbs instead of bright white LEDs. Create a cave-like atmosphere. Activate blue light filter. All modern phones have a night shift function that reduces blue light. Activate it to turn on automatically after sunset, and lower your screen brightness to the minimum possible. The golden rule: the most powerful strategy is to eliminate screens completely for the last 60 minutes before bed. This is your screen-free sanctuary. What to do instead? Read a physical book. Listen to a relaxing audiobook. Talk with your partner. Stretch. Write in your journal. Practice syncing your internal clock. Exercise 1. The circadian audit. First, become aware of your current situation. For the next 3 days, write down the answers to these questions. What time did I wake up? What time did I get my first direct sunlight exposure? Approximately how many hours did I spend indoors? What time did I turn off my last bright screen at night? On a scale of 1 to 10, how would I rate my energy level and my sleep quality? This log will give you a clear picture of your current desynchronization. Exercise 2. The 7-day circadian reset challenge. Now let's take action. This is a simple but transformative challenge. For the next 7 days, commit unconditionally to following just 2 rules. 10 minutes of direct sunlight in your eyes without sunglasses within the first hour of waking. 0 screens for the 60 minutes before bed. Continue logging your energy and sleep quality. By the end of the week, the improvement will be so dramatic that it becomes immense motivation to adopt these protocols as a lifestyle. You are not a machine running on caffeine and discipline. You are a biological being, exquisitely tuned by millions of years of evolution to the sun's rhythm. Neuro-Mastery doesn't begin with a complex technology. It begins with the simplest act of all, going outside in the morning and honoring darkness at night. It begins with your return to nature's rhythm. Chapter 8. Hack number 2, the deliberate approach. Welcome to the second and, in the modern world, most valuable of all neurohacks, the art and science of deliberate focus. We live in a paradox. In the past, information was scarce and attention was abundant. Today, information is infinitely abundant, while our attention has become the most scarce resource of all. In the 21st century economy, the ability to concentrate deeply on a single task without distraction is a superpower. It is the skill that separates the amateur from the professional, the busy from the productive. Author Cal Newport, in his work, divided work into two categories: shallow work and deep work. Shallow work involves low cognitive demand tasks, done in a state of distraction. Responding to emails, scheduling meetings. This work is easy, and it creates an illusion of productivity. Most knowledge workers spend most of their workday trapped in the quicksand of shallow work. Deep work, in contrast, is professional activity performed in a state of distraction-free concentration that pushes your cognitive abilities to their limit. This is where you create new value and improve your skills. Writing a book, developing a complex business strategy. Deep work is where the magic happens. The great tragedy of the modern professional is that their success depends on deep work, but their day-to-day is dominated by shallow work. Reclaiming your ability to focus is the most important act of rebellion you can perform against the tyranny of distraction. The neuroscience of focus, how mastery is built. To master focus, we must understand what happens in our brain when we concentrate. Concentration is not a mystical state. It is a tangible neurological process. Your prefrontal cortex is the CEO of your mind. When you choose to focus on a single task, you are ordering your CEO to illuminate a specific neural circuit. This is where the miracle of neuroplasticity comes into play. Focused practice not only helps you complete a task, it literally rewires your brain to be better at that task. This process is called myelination. Every time you concentrate on a skill, you repeatedly activate the same circuit of neurons. In response, special cells wrap that circuit in an insulating fatty sheath called myelin. Myelin is like the rubber insulation on an electrical wire. It makes the signal travel much faster. The more you practice with focus, the thicker the myelin layer becomes. A well-myelinated circuit is a neural superhighway. This is why a professional pianist can move their fingers with superhuman speed. It's not that their willpower is stronger. It's that they have spent thousands of hours myelinating their motor circuits. Deep work, therefore, is a process of deliberate myelination. Each concentration session is an investment in upgrading your own brain hardware. Now let's understand the enemy: multitasking or context switching. Your brain is a single processor. It cannot truly do two cognitively demanding tasks at once. What it does is switch between them rapidly. Each time you context switch, your brain must perform a costly process. It has to unload the previous task from its working memory and load the new one. Living in a state of constant context switching is like trying to run a marathon while stopping every 10 meters to solve a Sudoku. It is incredibly inefficient and exhausting. The 4 philosophies of deep work. Integrating deep work into a busy life requires a strategy. Cal Newport proposes 4 different philosophies. Choose the one that best suits your personality and circumstances. The monastic philosophy. This is the most extreme. It involves radically eliminating all shallow obligations to maximize time for deep work. It's the approach of the academic who isolates themselves. It is productive but impractical for most of us. The bimodal philosophy. This approach involves dividing your time. You dedicate long, defined periods to deep work in total isolation. And the rest of the time, you dedicate to shallow work. It's the model of the university professor who spends the semester teaching, shallow, and the summer on isolated research, deep. The rhythmic philosophy. This is the most practical and popular. It involves creating a daily rhythm, a habit of deep work. The idea is to make a concentration session a regular part of your day, like exercise. The most common method is to dedicate the first 90 minutes of your workday to your most important task, without any distractions. The journalistic philosophy. This is the most advanced and requires a well-trained concentration muscle. It consists of the ability to switch into deep work mode at any time a free window appears. It's the journalist who can write a brilliant article in an unexpected free hour between two meetings. Practice forging your concentration muscle. Protocol 1, the Pomodoro Technique 2.0. The Pomodoro Technique is an interval training system for your attention. This is an improved version. Step 1, the choice. Choose a single, specific microtask. Step 2, the fortress. Set a timer for 25 minutes. During those 25 minutes, you create an impenetrable fortress. Phone in another room. Notifications off. Step 3, the work. Work only on your microtask. If a thought appears, have a distraction notepad and jot it down quickly to address later. Step 4, conscious rest. When the alarm rings, the 5-minute break must be a true neurological rest. Don't check email or social media. Get up, stretch, look out the window. Protocol 2, the deep immersion ritual. Your brain loves rituals. They help it transition from one state to another. Design your own ritual to signal the start of a deep work session. The location. If possible, have a specific place you use only for deep work. The sound. Listen to the same piece of instrumental music or use noise-canceling headphones. The gesture. It can be as simple as tidying your desk. With repetition, this ritual will become a powerful trigger that tells your brain, it's time to enter high-performance mode. Protocol 3. Embracing boredom. We are so addicted to distraction because we have lost the ability to be bored. You must retrain your boredom muscle. The practice. The next time you're waiting in line or for the microwave, don't pick up your phone. Just do nothing. Observe the world and your own thoughts. It will be uncomfortable at first, but by doing so, you're teaching your brain that it doesn't need constant stimulation, and you're strengthening your ability to maintain a state of calm. Protocol 4. Productive meditation. This is a technique for using dead time productively. Use the time when your body is busy but your mind is free, walking, driving, showering, to perform a deep work session on a specific problem. Before you start walking, clearly define the problem, and during the walk, direct your attention to that problem. This is an incredibly effective way to solve problems, and it's excellent training for your focus muscle. In the 21st century economy, the new currency is not the time you work, but the intensity of your focus. Shallow work will keep you afloat, but deep work is what will make you a master. It is the path to producing work of exceptional value. It is the engine of Neuro-Mastery. You have learned to synchronize your master clock for energy, and now you have learned to focus that energy with laser precision. But the focus muscle, like any other, only grows and strengthens if given the proper time to recover. Chapter 9, Hack Number 3, Movement as Medicine. We have reached the third and perhaps most potent of the neurohacks, an intervention so simple we often underestimate it, yet its effects on our brain's architecture and chemistry are so profound, they border on the miraculous. This hack is not a pill or a technology. It is the power of movement. To understand its critical importance, we must travel back in time. For 99.9% of human history, we were hunter-gatherers. Our survival depended on our ability to move. We walked, ran, and climbed, averaging 10 to 20 kilometers every day. Our brain and body were not just adapted to this lifestyle, they were sculpted by it. Movement was not a hobby. It was the fundamental condition of our existence. Now fast forward to the present. We've built a sedentary cage. We move from bed to breakfast chair to car seat, to office chair to dining chair, and finally to the sofa, before returning to bed. Our brain, which still operates with a hunter-gatherer's software, interprets this lack of movement as an alarm signal. To it, prolonged immobility means two things. You are either sick or there are no resources. In either case, the response is the same: conservation mode. It reduces energy production, decreases motivation, and clouds the mind. The lethargy you feel after hours of sitting is not a character flaw. It's your biology's programmed response to an unnatural environment. To reclaim your mental power, you must remember the truth your body never forgot. You are designed to move. The exercising brain, a pharmacy of wonders. When you move, you're not just burning calories. You're activating a neurochemical pharmacy of unparalleled power, releasing a cocktail of molecules that rebuild and optimize your brain. 1. The birth of new neurons, neurogenesis and BDNF. Science once believed we were born with a finite number of neurons. Today, we know this is false. Thanks to the miracle of adult neurogenesis, our brain can create new cells throughout our lives. And the most powerful switch for this is aerobic exercise. When you run, swim, or bike, your muscles release a protein that's like Miracle-Gro for the mind. It's called BDNF. Its function is to stimulate the birth of new neurons and protect existing ones. High BDNF levels are directly correlated with improved memory and a lower risk of depression. Every time you raise your heart rate, you are fertilizing your mind's garden. 2. The mood elevator, the chemistry of happiness. Exercise is the most powerful antidepressant in the world. Its effect on mood is not just a feel-good sensation, it's the result of a profound rewiring of your neurochemistry. Endorphins. The famous runner's high is real. Intense exercise releases endorphins, your body's natural opioids, which reduce pain and create a feeling of euphoria. Serotonin and dopamine. Regular exercise increases serotonin, your peace advisor. It also resensitizes your dopamine receptors, meaning you need less stimulation to feel motivation and pleasure. Endocannabinoids. Your body produces its own cannabinoids. Moderate intensity exercise significantly increases levels of anandamide, the bliss molecule, which reduces anxiety and fosters creativity. To the focus enhancer, strengthening the CEO. Want a sharper mind and greater self-control? Move. Exercise has an immediate and profound effect on your prefrontal cortex. Increased blood flow. Exercise increases blood flow to the entire brain, especially the prefrontal cortex. This delivers more oxygen and glucose, the fuel it needs for concentration and decision-making. A morning workout is like giving your CEO a double shot of espresso and a champion's breakfast. Strengthening the network. Long-term regular exercise strengthens neural connections within the prefrontal cortex. It improves your working memory and your ability to switch tasks efficiently. The act of pushing through physical discomfort is direct training for your mental muscle of discipline. The right movement for your mind, a neurotraining menu. Not all exercise is created equal. Different types of movement produce different neurological effects. To become a true neurohacker, you must learn to choose the right workout for the mental outcome you seek. 1. Aerobic exercise, cardio, the great brain builder. What it is: any rhythmic activity that raises your heart rate. Brisk walking, jogging, swimming, cycling. Main benefit: massive BDNF stimulation and neurogenesis. It is the #1 tool for improving memory and protecting your brain against aging. The protocol: 150 minutes of moderate intensity cardio per week is standard. 2. Strength training, the CEO strengthener. What it is: lifting weights, resistance bands, body weight exercises. Main benefit: improves executive function. The act of pushing through the discomfort of the last repetition is direct training for willpower and mental resilience. It also boosts confidence. The protocol: 2 to 3 sessions per week. The key is progressive overload. For high-intensity interval training, HIIT, the neurochemical reset. What it is: short bursts of maximum effort followed by recovery periods. Main benefit: the fastest way to trigger a massive release of endorphins and endocannabinoids. It's a mood reset that is incredibly effective for breaking a state of mental fog. The protocol: a HIIT session should not last more than 15-20 minutes. Due to its intensity, use it in moderation. 4. Conscious movement, yoga, tai chi, the cortisol annihilator. What it is: practices that combine physical movement with conscious breathing, balance, and proprioception. Main benefit: the most potent tool for directly activating your rest and digest system. It drastically reduces cortisol levels and calms the overactive amygdala. It's perfect medicine for anxiety and chronic stress. The protocol: the key here is not intensity, but the quality of attention. The goal is to feel every movement, synchronize it with your breath, and maintain a mindful awareness of the present moment. Practice: Building the movement habit. Exercise 1. The movement audit. First, you need an honest baseline. For 1 week, track your daily step count. Also, note how many minutes of deliberate exercise you do and what type. At the end of the week, look at the data. Are you moving as often as you thought? This audit will give you motivation for change. Exercise 2. Design your weekly neurotraining menu. Rigidity is the enemy of habit. Create a flexible menu of options instead of a strict plan. Your goal: aim for a healthy combination. For example, 2 10 to 3 cardio sessions, 2 strength sessions, and 1 conscious movement session per week. Your menu: create a list of activities you enjoy for each category. Each day, instead of forcing yourself to do what's scheduled, ask your body, what does my brain need today from the menu? The calm of yoga or the intensity of strength training? This makes exercise a form of self-care, not an obligation. Exercise 3. Habit stacking and temptation bundling. Use the neuroscience of habits to your advantage. Stack the habit. Anchor your exercise to an existing habit. Right after my morning coffee, cue, I will put on my workout clothes, routine. Bundle the temptation. Combine an action you want to do with one you need to do. For example, I will only allow myself to listen to my favorite podcast, What I Want, while I am walking on the treadmill, What I Need. You are using the dopamine of the temptation to drive the healthy habit. Your body is not a vehicle for your brain. Your body and your brain are a unified, inseparable system. Movement is not a chore you must add to your to-do list. It is the most potent medicine, the most effective nootropic, and the most natural antidepressant at your disposal. To think better, to feel better, to be more resilient. First, move. Chapter 10, Hack Number 4, The Fuel of Genius. You've synced your biological clock, directed that energy with laser precision, and discovered the power of movement. You've optimized the operating system. Now we must talk about the fuel. We arrive at the fourth and final fundamental hack of Neuro-Mastery. A principle so basic we often overlook it, yet so powerful it can override or enhance all other efforts. We are going to talk about nutrition. Imagine you are the proud owner of a Formula One car, a prodigy of engineering. What kind of fuel would you put in it? The cheapest, lowest quality, full of impurities, or the highest octane, designed to optimize its performance? The answer is obvious. And yet, every day, millions of people with the most sophisticated engine in the universe, the human brain, choose to fuel it with the equivalent of low-grade gasoline. Your brain, though only 2% of your body weight, consumes an astonishing 20% of your total energy. It is, by far, the most metabolically active organ you possess. Every thought, every emotion, every memory is a biochemical process that requires resources. It requires the right building blocks and nutrients to create the neurotransmitters that form your reality. The food you eat is not just calories, it is information. Every bite is a message you send to your cells and to your brain. You are telling it whether to enter inflammation or repair mode, whether to feel anxious or calm, whether to have mental fog or a crystalline clarity. Forget about fad diets and complicated rules. The principle of neuronutrition is simple. To build a high-performance brain, you must provide it with the highest quality building materials. You must start eating not just for your body, but deliberately for your mind. The brain's macronutrients, the chassis and the fuel. Your brain needs 3 macronutrients to function. The quality of each will determine the quality of your consciousness. As the bricks of intelligence. Your brain is made of nearly 60% fat. The membranes of your 86 billion neurons are made of fat. The myelin sheath that insulates your neural circuits is fat. Taking fat out of your diet is like trying to build a house without bricks. But not all fats are equal. The most crucial fat for your brain's structure and function is an omega-3 fatty acid called DHA. DHA is the main building block of your cerebral cortex. An abundance of DHA keeps your neural membranes flexible, allowing neurotransmitters to communicate more efficiently. It is also a powerful anti-inflammatory. The best sources are cold water fatty fish like wild salmon, sardines, and mackerel. The problem is the imbalance between omega-3 and omega-6, pro-inflammatory, in processed vegetable oils. The modern diet is often 20-1 in favor of omega-6, which creates a state of constant inflammation. 2. Proteins, the neurotransmitter factories. Every protein you eat is broken down into amino acids. These amino acids are the direct precursors, the raw material, with which your brain manufactures the neurotransmitters that govern your mood and motivation. Tryptophan, serotonin. The amino acid tryptophan, found in foods like turkey, eggs, and nuts, is the precursor to serotonin, your well-being molecule. Without enough tryptophan, your brain literally cannot make the chemistry of happiness. Tyrosine, dopamine. The amino acid tyrosine, found in almonds, bananas, and chicken, is the precursor to dopamine, your motivation molecule. A low-protein diet can lead directly to low motivation and procrastination. Ensuring an adequate intake of high-quality protein at every meal is not just for your muscles. It is to give your brain the full palette of colors it needs to paint your emotional state. 3. Carbohydrates, the smart fuel. Your brain's preferred fuel is glucose, which comes from carbohydrates. But as with fats, quality is key. Dumb carbohydrates. These are refined sugars and white flours. They cause a massive, rapid spike in blood glucose, followed by a sharp crash. This cycle is the cause of midday mental fog, irritability, and cravings. Smart carbohydrates. These are complex, fiber-rich carbs found in vegetables, fruits, and whole grains. Fiber slows glucose absorption, providing your brain with a slow, stable, and sustained energy supply. It's the difference between throwing a splash of gasoline on a fire and putting a solid log that burns for hours. The brain's micronutrients, the spark plugs, and the oil. Beyond the main building blocks, your brain needs an army of vitamins and minerals to orchestrate its billions of chemical reactions. B vitamins, especially B6, B9, folate, and B12. They are crucial for neurotransmitter synthesis and for keeping homocysteine levels low. They are found in leafy greens, eggs, and meat. Magnesium. This is the relaxation mineral. It calms the nervous system, improves sleep quality, and is vital for synaptic plasticity. It is found in almonds, spinach, and dark chocolate. Antioxidants. Your brain, being metabolically active, produces a lot of waste that causes oxidative stress. Antioxidants neutralize this damage. The best source is brightly colored plants. The polyphenols in blueberries, strawberries, and green tea are powerful neuroprotectants. Practice, the Genius Nutrition Protocol. Exercise 1, the Fuel Audit. For the next 3 days, keep an honest log of everything you eat and drink. Next to each meal, note how you felt mentally 1 hour later. Did you feel energetic and clear? Or did you feel heavy and foggy? At the end of the 3 days, review your log. Identify your power foods that make you feel great and your kryptonite foods that consistently drain your mental energy. This awareness is the first step. Exercise 2, the brain plate model. This is a simple visual guide to building your meals. Half of your plate, 50%, colorful vegetables. This is your main source of fiber, vitamins, and antioxidants. Eat the rainbow. A quarter of your plate, 25%, clean protein. Sources like wild fish, pasture-raised chicken, or lentils. This gives you the amino acids for your neurotransmitters. A quarter of your plate, 25%, smart carbohydrates and/or healthy fats. Here you can include sweet potatoes, brown rice, or a serving of avocado, a drizzle of olive oil, or a handful of nuts. If you build most of your meals this way, you'll be giving your brain exactly what it needs. Exercise 3, the Fantastic 5 Challenge. Change doesn't have to be overwhelming. This week, your mission is to introduce these 5 brain superfoods into your diet. Blueberries, a handful in your yogurt. Leafy greens, a big salad for lunch. Wild salmon or algae oil. Try to eat it at least once. Walnuts or almonds, a small handful as a snack. Avocado. Add it to your salads or toast. This simple act of adding the good often naturally displaces the bad. Exercise 4, the Brain Hydration Protocol. Your brain is about 75% water. Even mild dehydration drastically affects concentration and mood. The practice. Don't wait until you're thirsty. Thirst is already a sign of dehydration. Drink water consistently throughout the day. Always have a bottle on your desk. Start your day with a large glass of water to rehydrate your system after the night. You are what you eat, and your brain is the first to know it. Nutrition is not about restriction, guilt, or complex diets. It is an act of self-love and a strategy for high performance. It's about consciously choosing the fuel that will allow you to build a clear, resilient, and absolutely unbreakable mind. You have synced your clock, focused your mind, moved your body, and nourished your brain. You have received the full user manual. In our final conclusion, we will tie all these pieces together and leave you with the vision of your new identity, the CEO of your own biology. We have traveled together through the lost pages of that manual. You have discovered that you are not a victim of your brain chemistry, but the chemist. You have learned the miracle of neuroplasticity, the truth that you are not sentenced by your hardware, but its engineer. We explored the internal battle between your primitive brain and your master brain, and you have learned to empower your inner CEO. And you have equipped yourself with the 4 fundamental protocols of Neuro-Mastery. You have learned to synchronize your biological clock with light, direct your power with focus, rebuild your brain with movement, and give it the right fuel for genius. The conclusion of all this knowledge is a transformation of identity. You are no longer a mere operator of the machine, at the mercy of its whims and errors. You have reclaimed your seat in the boardroom. You are the executive director, the CEO, of your own biology. Your mood, your energy, your mental clarity, your resilience are no longer random events that happen to you. They are results that you design, day by day, through conscious choices. Your journey does not end with these words. It is now that it truly begins. Your practice from today on can be reduced to a single question that you will ask yourself every morning when you look in the mirror. As the CEO of my own biology, what is the single smart decision I will make today to optimize this system? It could be a 10-minute walk in the sun. It could be a session of deep work. It could be choosing a nutritious meal. You don't have to do everything perfectly. Start with a single decision. Every conscious choice is a vote for your new identity. It is an act of sovereignty. You have received the manual. The tools are in your hands. If this user manual for your brain has resonated with you, and you want to continue exploring the science of personal mastery, we invite you to join our community. Subscribe to Path of Knowledge for access to more transformative protocols. Give this video a like if you are ready to take on the role of CEO of your life. Share this science of mastery with someone who needs to reclaim their power. Thank you for your time and for your decision to become the master of the most incredible machine in the universe.